You've probably heard the name John Nash, maybe from the Oscar-winning movie A Beautiful Mind. But the real story of the man behind that legend, well, it's even more dramatic. It's a gripping saga of staggering genius, a terrifying descent into madness, and one of the most remarkable comebacks in the history of science.
It all started right here. This was his entire letter of recommendation for Princeton. Just one sentence. That's it. No fluff, no long list of accomplishments, just a single powerful declaration from his professor. He is a mathematical genius. That one sentence set the stage and the expectations for one of the 20th century's greatest minds.
And that's the central, tragic question of John Nash's life, isn't it? His story isn't just about hitting intellectual home runs. It's about a profound and personal war waged inside the very mind that was reshaping our world.
Okay, so before this struggle, there was this meteoric rise. Nash wasn't just smart, he was an absolute force of nature in the world of mathematics. He saw the world in a way that, frankly, no one else did.
Now, this is his most famous contribution, the Nash Equilibrium. And get this, he developed it in a PhD dissertation that was only 28 pages long. Think about that for a second. In fewer pages than a typical magazine, he laid out a revolutionary concept that would later win him a Nobel Prize. It explains all sorts of things, like why two rival coffee shops might open right across the street from each other. It's not the best outcome for either of them, but it's a stable strategy where neither one can do better by moving. It's brilliant.
But here's the thing. He wasn't just a game theorist. That would be like calling Picasso a guy who was good at drawing. His intellect was just vast. He made huge contributions in pure geometry. He solved problems in partial differential equations that had stumped mathematicians for over half a century. And he even outlined ideas that anticipated modern encryption all the way back in the 1950s. The man was a true polymath.
And then, right at the absolute peak of his powers, something went terribly, terribly wrong. The brilliant, logical mind that saw patterns everywhere, well, it started to see patterns that just weren't there.
And it happened with terrifying speed. I mean, look at this timeline. This all happened in just a few months in 1959. He goes from giving a confusing, rambling lecture at Columbia to abruptly resigning his job at MIT to being diagnosed with schizophrenia in a psychiatric hospital. The very same colleagues who once marveled at his genius were now just watching in horror as it all unraveled.
And his delusions were incredibly vivid and specific. This wasn't just, being a little confused. His mind was constructing an entire alternate reality. He saw conspiracies everywhere. Men wearing red ties weren't just guys in red ties, no. They were part of a secret crypto-communist party. It's just a chilling example of a hyper-rational mind being used for a deeply irrational purpose. So what came next was a long, dark period. The world of mathematics just moved on, while one of its brightest stars, well, he just seemed to have vanished completely. 9. For nearly a decade, this was his life, cycling in and out of psychiatric hospitals, being subjected to the brutal treatments of the time, like insulin shock therapy. 9 years of his prime just lost to the fog of his illness.
And during this time, he became known as the Phantom of Fine Hall. He wasn't really part of the academic community anymore. He was like a ghost haunting its halls. Students and professors would come in to find these cryptic equations scrawled on blackboards, the work of a phantom who only appeared when no one was around. It's such a powerful, lonely image of a brilliant mind still working, but totally cut off from the world.
But then, almost as mysteriously as the illness had arrived, it began to recede. And his recovery wasn't some sudden miracle, it was a slow, quiet, and absolutely monumental act of will.
His comeback really rested on 3 crucial pillars. First, a stable home provided by his ex-wife, Alicia. Second, an academic sanctuary at Princeton, which just let him be on campus. But the final and most incredible step was his own. He began to intellectually reject his delusional thinking. He treated his schizophrenia not as a condition to be cured, but as a problem to be solved. He literally decided to think his way out of it. It's just incredible.
And here it is, in his own words. He applied the same scientific rationality that made him a genius to the very illness that had tried to destroy him. That is an almost unbelievable feat of mental discipline, to consciously choose logic over the powerful pull of delusion. So slowly, the Phantom of Fine Hall stepped back into the light, and the world was finally ready to recognize the full scope of his incredible life.
His redemption was complete. In 1994, he receives the Nobel Prize for the game theory work he did as a young man. Then, in 2015, he receives the Abel Prize, which is basically the Nobel of mathematics, for work on partial differential equations, some of which he did during his periods of lucidity. It was the ultimate validation, recognizing the genius that shone through, both before and during his illness. And this is the poignant, almost unbelievable final chapter. Just days after receiving that final, crowning achievement, he and Alicia, the woman who had stood by him through everything, were killed in a car accident on their way home. They had been on this incredible journey together, through genius, madness, and recovery, and in the end, they left the world together.
In the end, Nash himself offered this incredible thought, connecting his scientific creativity to the very same unconventional thinking that led to his illness. It leaves us with a profound and unsettling question. Where is the line between genius and madness, and can one truly exist without a shadow of the other?